Mr. Steinman, if we have to look at the irrigation project costs in regards to the Neckartal Dam, can you please give us an elaboration on that?
Elsabe, the best estimates at this point is that we are looking at about another 2.5 billion Namibia dollars. So that's 2,500 million Namibia dollars. So it's a lot of money. It's roughly half of what the project has cost us so far. So it means that we have to add that on top of what we've paid for the dam wall. And it is a fairly ambitious project. The construction of a pipeline that runs for 5 kilometers in the initial phase, and that will be extended by another 5 kilometers later on to cover more arable land, is what is making it so expensive. And the water has to be pumped, so the installation is relatively expensive. You have to make provision for the pumping and the halfway stations and. Fortunately, the engineers in Namibia are fairly skilled in pumping water, because we pump the water from Swakopmund to Vonbach Dam, which is about 60 kilometers and a fairly steep elevation, so we have to lift the water as well. We pump the water from the Karstveld near Grootfontein, and we bring it in a canal and in pipes up to the Omatako Dam, and from there in pipes to the inflow of Vonbach again, and we pump all Windhoek's water from Vonbach to Gorianga. So we know how to pump water. We don't know how to make water, but we can bring it where we need it. So the biggest cost in Neckartal is to install the pipeline and to make it functional. The second fairly major cost component is preparing the land. The land that has been earmarked for development or for irrigation is I don't know what the correct word, the technical term is, but it is unspoiled land. It's virgin land. It's land that has never been used for irrigation, and we have to go out there and now make available a couple of 100 irrigation plots. You must remember that the land is about 5,000 hectares. That if you go by satellite imagery, that would be, or say, should I say, should be able to be developed into irrigation plots. Now, if you use the international benchmark, which is that a family needs about 12.5 hectares to make a decent living. But again, if we look at Hardap as an example of where we want to go, at Hardap they set aside 202 hectares, which they divided into smaller plots, only 6 hectares each, and which they are still in the process of identifying the tenants, the people who are suitable to plant and plow on that relatively small plot. Because remember, it's irrigation. Everything is intensive. It is not in agriculture or in horticulture. You get intensive farming and you get extensive farming. Extensive is what we call dry land. You know, where you put the mealies in the soil and you pray hard, and the rain comes, and if you're lucky, the mealies grow about 2 feet tall. Not. Have you ever been in a proper mealie field in the Free State, or in the Eastern Highlands of South Africa or Zimbabwe?
Not the Free State.
Those mealies are taller than a person. You know? They're about 8 feet tall. Well, if we can get the same thing, it'll be fantastic. But here is the kicker. Again, about the cost. Now you get a lot of negativity and people criticize the project. And why another 2.5 billion? Now that same principle, all the stuff that I said about Hardap, now starts applying to Neckartal. And Neckartal is a huge dam and it's solidly built, and the source of the water is fairly guaranteed if you look at any 10-year cycle, So you must remember, Neckartal has stayed full for the last 4 or 5 years because we've never used the water. Only a little bit released for the lower down in the Fish River Canyon, only May, June, July, August, So the water in the dam basically stays there. When we're going to start using it, irrigating 5,000 hectares, you will see a drop in the water level. But I doubted that we will empty the dam. That happens with Hardap. And again, if you look at Hardap, there's about 2,500 hectares under irrigation. And there were plans long ago to extend that to 5,000 hectares. And Hardap is actually big enough to carry 5,000 hectares were it not for the risk of the dam wall. The Hardap is kept intentionally at only 70% of capacity. So let me put it this way: if the engineers behind Hardap think that Hardap, with its 270 million cubic meters of water, can sustainably drive a 5,000 hectare irrigation scheme. Remember, that's double what it currently is. Then it means that Neckartal, which is 7 times bigger than Hardap, can drive eventually about 15,000 hectares of land under irrigation. That's big. That's big, So it gives you an idea of where we can go with Neckartal. But now you can realize, well, this should be common sense to any person with a thinking mind, is that all of this would just be hot air, fluff, daydreaming, if the water is not there. So it was very important to first create the source of the water, regardless of who says what. Now the water is there. It's expensive to get it where we want it, but let's take one generation, only 30 years. That water is going to be there for 100 years. 3 generations at least, and even longer than that. But if we look at only one generation and we consider the difference that dam will make. Initially only on 5,000 hectares, not the whole big thing. You can just think for yourself how many people will become farmers, tenants of that land. How many people will work there, and how much food will be produced there. And then over 30 years, what it's costing us now, or what it has cost so far, really becomes insignificant.
And on that note, let's quickly go for a short break.